Ukraine isn't making Russia's unprovoked attack on its soil easy, putting up a brave fight. Russian troops have suffered losses and anti-Putin protesters are growing in Moscow. So what's Putin's next move? Here to help us discuss that, let's bring in Christopher Miller, the Fletcher School of Tufts Assistant Professor of International History. Christopher, thank you so much for joining us. So sanctions that are weak or rolled out too slowly, how well do those work? And what did you think of the sanctions that Biden announced yesterday? Were they effective enough?
I think the sanctions are tougher than we've ever imposed on Russia, but we can't realistically count on sanctions alone to help change the dynamics on the battlefield in Kiev. The reality is that sanctions always take months, if not years, to work. And though it makes a lot of sense to punish Russia for its invasion of Ukraine, we shouldn't think that that's going to provide any sort of immediate change on the battlefield.
And I'm wondering, we've heard reports that the EU will freeze the assets of Putin and Lavrov. What effect do you think that will have on Putin? Because so much of his money has been dispersed to, the people around him, his people around him and other oligarchs.
I think it's fine to sanction individual Russian leaders, but ultimately we're facing not just a collection of individuals, but a country whose elite has supported this foreign policy line for 2 decades. And so when we think about sanctions, sanctioning individuals isn't enough. We've got to hit the entire economy to impose a real cost and make it harder for Russia to muster the type of military power that it is deploying in Ukraine right now. So I'd put individual sanctions next to sanctions on Russia's banking industry and other key industries, commodities, energy, that Russia relies on to fund its military.
There's been quite a lot of backlash to Putin's aggression from Russians themselves, a lot of protests. Do you think that he is winning, that he's on the end of a losing battle here, and that perhaps he has taken a step too far in his aggression?
Well, a lot of people have predicted Putin's downfall over the past 20 years, and he's always managed to hold on to power domestically. The reality is that his repressive apparatus is more powerful than ever. It's more dangerous than ever for Russians to express any dissent. And so I wouldn't expect in the short term the domestic dissatisfaction with the war to impact the Kremlin's decision at all.
And sir, are you surprised by how aggressive the EU and the UK has been? Usually they're on the back foot, but they seem to be taking the lead with the sanctions that are being opposed, and the US seems to be taking a back seat.
Well, this is a war on their doorstep. Ukraine borders 4 EU member states. Russia is launching cruise missiles not too far from the EU's own territory. So it makes sense that they're pushing ahead, and I commend them for doing so. I think we need more measures from the EU, more measures from the UK to lock out Russian businesses from their economies and to put costs on Russia.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Christopher Miller, the Fletcher School at Tufts Assistant Professor of International History. Have a great week.